Hey, what's going on, DDO players? Axel here. Today I am going to go over a few developer quotes that were posted this week on the DDO.com forums, and they concern two topics. One is discussion of a possible new caster damage over time spell. Now, nothing's confirmed or anything. This is just comments and hearsay. The second comment by developer concerns the recent revamps to the XP in the Temple of Elemental Evil. So as far as the first comment, casters have an issue right now in the game, and specifically epics, in that they're very weak against single target boss types that have a huge pool of HP. And why are they weak? Because they just don't have the SP to drain all of those hit points. Unlike a melee, you can just swing on it forever. For these giant bosses, casters are just going to run out of XP if they use their normal spells before the boss is dead. The only option they really have right now is spamming magic missiles with Shirardi Epic Destiny to get the procs. So discussion started in this topic about a caster update, and a developer came in to address this item specifically. And I'll go ahead and read you the quote, and the developer was actually Severlin who said this. He said, "We will be looking at caster performance at the high end, specifically against bosses on Epic Elite. Casters could use a boss/single target DPS epic spell that is a bit more mana efficient, and it will probably come in the form of a stacking DoT. Casters probably need some additional mana efficient options other than spamming magic missiles with Shirardi." And I'll put a link to this thread in the description if you want to check out the whole thing yourself. Severlin also went on to say that they would like to look at Magister and Draconic Incarnation Epic Destinies at some point as well. So my question when it comes to a possible new DoT is this a good thing to give casters a better DoT? It moves us, if we give casters a very SP efficient way to deal with huge red names, it moves us further into the territory of everyone can do everything. It takes less of the focus off of a party, because in the past your casters have been the best for clearing trash mobs, and your melees have generally been the best for dealing with your huge boss types, your big HP red names. And letting everyone do everything kind of moves us more into that territory of why are we grouping, why do I even need a teammate if I can just do everything myself and solo it. But I do realize that at this point we've kind of already gone down that path. Actually, I don't have to say kind of. We definitely have gone down that path. Everyone has self-healing now. Everyone has a variety of options when it comes to crowd control. Everyone can get pretty much every needed buff or cure, like status cure from potions or clickies. So we've kind of already gone down that direction. So with that in mind, it probably is a good thing to give casters a new DoT, some way to deal with bosses. No, I mean, I wouldn't prefer that personally, but I understand this is where the game is going. The game has already gone down to this let's let everyone be completely self-sufficient route, which you can argue whether that's best or not. I personally, going back, if I could design the game looking backwards, I would not have gone down this route, but since we are down this route, with that in mind, I think it is the best decision. One thing is, I would like to see, instead of them just putting out another epic spell SLA, which I'm afraid that's what they'll do with, they've already got several like Hellball and Ruin, stuff like that, and they'll probably, I'm guessing, just put out another epic SLA that you can take as an epic feat that is this DoT. But what I would really like to see instead of that is a spell pass done to both Arcane and Divines to let their spells scale into Epic. There are so many things, so many spells that don't scale into Epic that just lose their luster. I know as a cleric, your two most helpful spells in Heroics, Blade Barrier and Divine Punishment, become not completely worthless, but they lose a ton of effectiveness into Epic levels because they don't scale. The damage just caps at 20. And I wouldn't think it would be that intensive as far as hours to go back and just have those spells scale up to 28. You would have to address each spell individually, and in the case of arcanes, there's a ton of spells. But I would love heroic spells to go into epics. I don't like this this system we have where we just have epic things that just completely replace all of the heroic abilities. Stuff like Ruin and Hellball. I mean, I would like to see more focus on the classes. And if they did have to go down the route of an epic SLA instead of revamping all of the heroic spells, I hope they do one that's specific for each class, just to support some more class diversity. Let's have a DoT that requires a majority of sorcerer levels to take, or a variety of wizard levels or druid levels, whatever, to take. And I want all these DoTs to be equivalent but different, just to give us more class flavor. I'm kind of getting a little frustrated with the game when it comes to class diversity, because there's always a give and a take. When we support multi-classing, when we support extreme self-sufficiency, there's something that you lose there, and what you lose is class diversity. The more we allow multi-classing, the more we allow self-sufficiency, the more all the classes blend into the same, the more the classes are becoming similar. So I would like to see some more direct attempts to support class diversity in the future. Okay, so let's move on to the next quote, which is concerning the Temple of Elemental Evil XP. So it figures as soon as I posted my Temple of Elemental Evil review and kind of bashed the devs a little bit for the weak XP in the quest, they did come out this week with a new patch that increased the XP in Temple of Elemental Evil. And if you want to check out my original review to Temple of Elemental Evil, I'll put a link to that in the description below. But back on topic, they did increase the Temple of Elemental Evil's XP with both optionals and base. I'll go ahead and post a link to a thread discussing this below in the description. A lot of players were happy to see that they did increase the XP, but some were not very happy. They felt that the increase was still not enough. And a developer, Steelstar, chimed in and said the following: with Temple, we intentionally tried to approach the reward scheme in a very different manner than in most of the rest of the game. For both loot and XP, the strategy of Zerg to the end as fast as possible is not going to yield the best rewards here, and that's intentional. The base XP isn't extraordinarily high, but you can earn around 10 times that in a single run by completing the optionals, Slayer, and some rare red names. The best chances at the loot many of you are farming for right now are in the random encounters chests. There seem to be a lot of people running around looking for quick completions, which is a fairly inefficient way of getting XP and loot from the temple. The temple may not be the best XP per minute in the game, and definitely won't be if you're going for a fast completion, and that's perfectly fine. We just boosted the XP on the optionals, and there's definitely not a good read yet on how people that are running for Slayers / optional hunting are faring XP wise after the patch. I have to give the developers credit here, because it's something I didn't address specifically in my Temple review. Like Steelstar said, the quest is not designed to reward Zerging to the end. And that's an issue because the player base now and for a long time has been in the mindset of Zerg to the end. We've gotten used to a big chunk of XP being at the end of the quest for so long, and really, honestly, most all content that we have in DDO up to this point, the optionals haven't really been worth it. Now there's exceptions, but for most content, the optional XP has been pretty bad, and it's for the most part in your best interest to just Zerg to the end and get the completion XP. But in the Temple, the developers specifically tried to veer from this path. So they tried to put more XP into the optionals, more loot into the optional chests. And a lot of people still have that mindset of Zerging to the end, so they're doing that with Temple and still getting and getting bad XP, so they're seeing the quest as a whole as being bad XP, when in fact they're just running it in a XP inefficient way. Now, I'm not trying to say that the temple is in fact excellent XP if you farm for optionals and rares, because there are plenty of players in this thread that chimed in and said, hey, the optional XP, even if you go for farming slayers, etc., is not very good. You still need to increase the XP there, and I might agree with that. I don't have enough personal experience farming the optionals, farming the slayers to really have an opinion on that, but it is worth pointing out that the player base may not have a great basis for comparison yet. The temple is still new, people still have that mindset of zerging to the end, so it may take some time for players to get used to running that quest in the way it was intended, which is not a zerg, but a slayer and rare exploration type deal. But I will say, in my limited experience, I have not been that impressed with the slayer and optional XP. I have not run it since the increase to the XP this week, so if I get some time today, maybe a little earlier this week, I'll run through it and see what I think, maybe stick around for a while, throw up an LFM and get some slayers in. But as far as the slayers go, I do have a few complaints, XP aside. The slayers in the temple, just like they have in every slayer area in the game, are a progression is built in to where you get XP quick in small chunks at the beginning, and then as you get more and more slayers, the number of kills you need to get to the next tier increase dramatically. So right now you get XP at 10 kills, 25 kills, 50 kills, 100 kills, 200, then 400, 750, 1500, and 3000 kills. My question, as has been my question in every slayer area in the game, is why do we have such huge breaks in these kill patterns? I would like to see more consistent breaks. Why do we have to go from a 1500 to a 3000? That's a huge break. I want to see these tiers broken down into smaller chunks. Maybe something like 50, then 100, then 200, then 400. And maybe stop it there. Stop progressing the tiers by more than 200. Go to 600, 800, 1000, 1200, 1400, 1600. Just stop with the same percentage increase. Now, going from 50 to 100, that's not a lot, but it's really hard to stick to the Slayer area for more than 1500 kills, and especially in a quest like this where it's going to reset every time. In a standard wilderness area, your kill counts are saved, so you can slowly progress up to that 3000, up to that 5000, whatever the top tier might be. But in case of the Temple of Elemental Evil, the Slayer count is reset every single time you quit the quest, so you can't progress to that amount. And it's just, to get up to these 3000, these huge kill counts, it requires more time than a lot of players might have. So if we break the XP down to smaller chunks, it will let people get more out of the temple if they have a smaller amount of time to actually sit down and play the game that night. Post below and let me know if you think the new additions to the XP for Temple of Elemental Evil is enough, and if you would be excited to see a new caster DoT in DDO. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please subscribe and tell your DDO friends and guildies about my channel. Thanks for watching.